And now, it's time for The Dating Doctor.
Prescribed by Dr. Carlos
And Physicians Assistant Steve Estrada.
Some guys have all the love. Woo! Some guys have all the pain. Some guys get all the breaks. Some guys do nothing but complain. Oh, man. Come on now. Stop complaining, Rod. You got all that money?
Come on.
Making corny videos. See this video, bro?
It's sad.
30 years ago.
Back in the day, then, it was something else. You gotta admit.
Oh, yeah.
I used to watch this, right?
MTV?
Yeah, I was coming home from junior high school, Stanford Junior High School in Long Beach.
I was married.
You were married.
Kid
And,
or two.
I couldn't get enough of this guy back then.
Ah, well.
Man, I
know
look
which
back
is
at
worse.
this and I don't know.
I don't know which is worse, this video or that Mick Jagger, David Bowie dancing in the streets video.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, we
And,
can-
and the
yeah.
outfits they were wearing in that video.
Yeah, it'd be
My
fun to have
God,
a
is
vote.
that bad?
It'd be fun to have a vote. I wonder what would happen there with that. So one question though, Sean, do you think this guy would ever make the Super Bowl cut for halftime?
Ron, if
Yeah.
you did anything pre 1978, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Passion.
Maggie May.
Yeah,
You know, every picture tells a story. Yeah,
little
why not?
passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some stuff. Man, welcome back, everybody. I'm back from Hawaii.
Aloha.
Oh, you should have had some like Elvis playing or something. Some.
That's true. That's true.
Some Hawaiian music.
Steve took over the show last week. Austin was here, and
Della.
we had Della. We had
I was here for
the
a minute.
Sneeds.
I came here to get
Sneeds
kicked
with her
to
a
the
little
side
bit.
and
the Sneeze came in for a minute.
then left.
All right, that's okay. So I was having an identity crisis. I actually took a picture out of my window and I sent it on Facebook, trying to get likes on there. You know what I mean?
How many did you get?
I don't know, maybe 89. I was disappointed. I tell you the truth.
I can check.
I couldn't sleep. I was disappointed. It's an identity crisis. So,
Only
anyways,
double digits.
only double digits, bro. I like triple. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like anybody else. You know,
Different levels.
I'm like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not popular yet. You know, but so I would do want to say thank you and welcome back to the show, and you know, our show is designed to help you have power, guidance, security, and wisdom. And our opinion is that you can accomplish that through principles, by centering your life on principles. And then also holding other people accountable to the same standards. And I personally believe, and I know that Steve does, and Austin has been a big part of this. Sean has learned a lot, and actually I think that the way he thinks is very solid also. We also have Dan Lopez in the studio today, all the way from Brazil, Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo, representing Sao Paulo, home of the favela,
You're right.
for all you Brazilians out there.
Is that where the thong came from too?
Yeah.
I'm
We
just
gotta ask Nova.
random thought.
What about the Brazilian butler?
We gotta have Nova, bro. Ask Nova. But yeah, so we believe that's the way to accomplish good relationships in life, whether it be professional relationships, family relationships, or intimate spousal relationships. That you have to become an iceberg with a foundation of character, and that is what we expect for ourselves, and therefore we expect that in others. And that is the recipe for a mature, successful relationship. So hopefully you guys can get that kind of wisdom from our show. And today, you know, I want to introduce the guys, our team here in the studio. You got me, myself, your host, Carlos Mendez. And then we also have our PA, our Physicians Assistant, Steve Estrada.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
And then we also have, by popular demand, back here, Mr. Austin Chamberlain.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Say hello. Thank you, Austin, for coming. And we
Good to be
have the show's sidekick. You know? Never, what do you call it?
Often imitated,
Often
never
duplicated.
duplicated.
Never duplicated, bro. So we got our guy Sean Sneed in the house.
Back for the attack.
Hey.
Back for the attack. And then we also have today, for the first time in the studio, at least being a part of the show, Mr. Dam or Darlem Lopez. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, used to be single and singer. Now he is far from single, but still can sing.
Principal Center, Dan.
Principal Center
Principal
Dan
Center.
Lopez. He's one of the best. So we got today we're gonna do some good things. We have 3 more principles to cover from our Baker's Dozen, and then we also have Steve is gonna share a dating experience, and if any of the other guys want to share a dating experience or something like that, we'll go there, and then we'll have a chance to analyze and add feedback and input. So we're gonna start first, but I do want to say that as Steve mentioned last week, we had our order for T-shirts. They came in, and I think we're selling out. You know, we'll do anything for the numbers, right? So I had one of my vice presidents in the company buy them all, and looks good on the books.
Is that the
Sales is sales.
So you had the same person who ordered them, bought them.
Yeah, basically, but we ordered them as a corporation, bought them as an individual, so it looks like on the books, it looks like there's somebody out there that's interested.
It's a tax strategy. It's a tax strategy.
It is a tax strategy. S corp, something like that, you know.
That's like something like a Gene Simmons, financial decision. They put a Kiss album, goes like a Walmart.
Yeah.
Because they want to get the gold status.
Sell 500,
Yeah, sell
$1 an album.
Yeah.
We
Reached
got
platinum.
The Gene Simmons School of Tax Advantages.
He actually does teach a finance class of some sort.
But
Yeah.
he's a rich guy.
There you go. Well, yeah. So let's go ahead and we're this is a S2-E8. So this is the last episode of our 2nd season. Okay, this is our 16th show.
16th.
16th.
Sweet 16.
Sweet
Wow.
16.
It's remarkable.
That's impressive.
Yeah, the FCC keeps calling KCAA and going, what the heck are you guys doing?
Yeah. Why are we
Right.
still on there?
Why do you still have these guys on? And
And we keep bribing the FCC
yeah, I mean,
The T-shirts.
hey,
with T-shirts.
the CEO Fred, at the KCAA, he keeps accepting the money. So I guess we have another week.
There we go.
So we may be on another 4 if we're lucky. So, but I do want to say congratulations to our cast for reaching the milestone of the 16th show and the end of the 2nd season. So give us a hand there, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a standing O in case you couldn't see it from out there. And so now we're going to go ahead and dive right in to Season 2, Episode 8. We're going to start with your PA, Steve Estrada.
All right. Hey, guys, I've got a nice experience to share with you from this past week. I think it was Wednesday night? Tuesday night? One of those nights. And I met a woman the weekend before and was lucky enough to get her phone number. We did a little dancing on a Sunday afternoon. And I called her and we arranged to have a first date. And we met for just some light food, had a drink, I think a drink each, and started talking. And she had recently come out of a long-term relationship. It was actually described as 25 years that she was with someone.
Wow.
And so my antenna went up and I was starting to think, wow, what's this all about? So we started to talk about it, and I could tell that there were a lot of pieces of her story that were suspect and of concern to me. So I said, I kind of said, let me just share something with you in terms of where I'm coming from and what I know about the dating world. And I got into the first question that we ask on our Dirty Dozen. What is your status in terms of availability related to your last relationship, etc. So she had revealed to me her situation, and we didn't get into detail yet, but I said, let me just tell you, where I'm coming from and what my recent history is. So I told her that I had been in a relationship middle of last year. It ended in July, and then I'm I've been single since then, and I'm looking to meet somebody, and I want to get married, and I have an approach to all this. And so I told her about the Dating Doctor show. I told her about what we teach, and right away I could see that it was something that she hadn't heard before from someone in a dating scenario. And although we did talk a little bit more about her situation, I realized that it was going to be more of her just talking about something that wasn't positive for her. And I kind of said, it looks like this relationship was almost abusive to you in a sense, based on what you're describing. So we don't need to get into too much more detail on that. But I told her the one thing that I had a concern about was that she was available, and that she would be able to be open to what I or anyone else who was looking for a serious relationship leading to marriage would be able to offer her. And so we talked about that number one Dirty Dozen question. And I think that we're both good with our answers. We're both available. She wants to be married again. She was married once before, like I was in her earlier days. So we had that in common. And so that first question, we didn't necessarily start with it, but we got into it based on the first discussion. So it was really good and really helpful. And I said, do you mind if we talk about a couple other things related to this show? And I don't recall if we specifically talked about parents and what our relationship with our parents is. That's our question number 7 on the Dirty Dozen, but it came up. And I think it came up in reflection to the last date that I had asked it on, where the lady didn't have a good answer. It was the one that she said, she didn't want to even talk about it, and she wanted to talk about her kids' relationship, which is a different subject.
Her daughter was the soulmate.
Yeah, that one. Daughter was a soulmate. So we started, I think I shared that with her, and I said, I told her about my situation with my parents, and I have a great relationship with my mom. She's still alive, and my dad is gone, and I told her about the challenges with that relationship. And so then she started to tell me about her relationship with her parents, and you could just see her light up. And what I got from it was she is respectful, she is loving, she cares. I mean, right now she flew to Portland, Oregon to be with her mom, who's going through a health crisis, and her and her brother have been taking turns just sitting with their mom in this rehabilitation hospital, just being with her.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's able to do it because of her business and what she does, and then her brother and her are taking turns doing this, and I was like, wow. And then she talked about her father, who has passed, and the reverence that she had for him, and that she spoke about him. In fact, she even said, because I told her I was an amateur musician, and she started telling me about the guitars that were his guitars, and how she liked that I was into music and she loved music, but she wasn't a musical person. And I get to see her talking about her dad and just touching on these little pieces, and I'm going, man, this is a great question, because you could see how people light up or how they don't light up.
Yeah.
And to have a great relationship with your parents, that means something.
It does.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether they're living or not, that reverence, that respect,
Yeah.
that value of what those parents meant to you and gave
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is great.
Yes.
And so we connected on that, because I have my relationship with my mom and her in her declining years, and we connected over that. So then we started to talk about our jobs, and we got into, what is your occupation, what is your vision, what are you, wanting to do going forward. She's a flight attendant, but she also has a secondary business that she's had for years. She's an investigator. She's like a private investigator.
Ooh,
and she talks about becoming a flight attendant, and it's a dream job for her.
Yeah.
So she gave up her lucrative full-time investigator business to become a flight attendant.
Yeah.
She loves her job.
You
And she
won't
was
be able to
telling-
get away with anything with her, bro.
I don't think so. And she said she didn't even want to tell me.
Yeah.
And I said, full transparency, that's one of our principles. And I told her about principle.
That's
And
right.
I started talking about that.
That's right.
And so she goes, well, then I'll better tell you. So she told me, and I go, that's fantastic. I said, look up my background. I'll tell you everything, good, bad, or otherwise, because I believe in transparency.
Yeah.
So we started talking about the value. So I'm just like digging this exchange,
Yeah, yeah,
We
absolutely.
scheduled a second date, and
Wow.
She had to cancel on me though because she had to go see her mom. Something
Hey.
came up. There was an emergency, and I
Uh-oh.
said, "No problem." I made a little joke about it, and I said, "Rain check, no pun intended," because it's raining today. And so we just had, we only covered about 3 or 4 of the questions.
Corniness creeps in early in the relationship. You
But
gotta love
I've
that.
got to tell you guys,
Corniness
it was a
sells.
good experience.
sells,
It was a good experience.
Yeah.
And I told her the whole concept of, what the dating doctor teaches and the principle-centered approach, and how, whatever it was in her past and how she handled it, that's not going to be with me, that's not going to happen. This is going to be a relationship based on really solid foundation and
Yeah.
good stuff. And I could just see her eyes light up. I could
Wow.
just see her eyes light up, big smile across her face. She hasn't heard this stuff like this before.
Of course not.
She
How
has
long had it
not.
been? How long had it been before she?
She had
since the last.
they
relationship
broke up,
breakup.
I believe, right around the time that I broke up my relationship. I think it was April.
Oh, wow.
April, May, something like that.
Yep.
And she said that after talking to me when we first met, she hadn't had a conversation with the ex. And there was a bunch of unsettled things. There were some belongings that were still in possession. And so she called and had a conversation with him like I did when I kind of had closure on my relationship, that was settling of our souls. And she said, I didn't necessarily want to do it, but after talking to you and how it helped you, I decided to do it. So she did it. She said, I did it just yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, I hope it's okay if I tell you about it. I go, no, tell me about it.
Yeah.
This is world, transparency, right? And so she said, and after the conversation, I could see that not being in this relationship was the right thing for me. He still wanted to be in the relationship with me, but it was over, it was done. There was no opportunity. And so I said, well, I believe you. If I didn't believe you, I wouldn't, ask you on a second date. She goes, I needed to do it. I needed to clear my soul because it hadn't been talked about. And she said, you made me see the value in talking about it.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore things.
Yeah.
And so she did, and that was a good little share. So the experience that I had was terrific. I mean, it was terrific because I think her and I clicked on a bunch of levels. She's an athlete. She's a road racer. She's a surfer. She does judo or
Wow.
no kickboxing.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, he might kick my butt.
Incredible.
But anyway, it was just a great date, and what really made it terrific was when I got into what we teach people to ask about and talk about. It was just, I'd give it an A in terms of a first date. And we
Good.
talked for 4 hours.
Wow.
Just talking.
Okay, Steve, go ahead and take us into the first break, and then when we get back on the second session, we'll finish up your date information there.
All right. So guys, you're listening to The Dating Doctor on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire. And today the show is brought to you by MeetingSinglesNow.com, where we bring you the best events to meet quality single people. Look forward to our events, guys. They're coming.
Yeah, we need to do that. All right, talk to you guys on the second session. Front of you. That's the worst thing I could do.
Wow, that's a sad song.
Tell you what, man. What happened to transparency and vulnerability?
Mm-hmm.
You know? See, I'm telling you, man, not even in the 70s they had principles.
Yeah, well, it's a new day.
It's a new day.
It's a new day.
You know? No, you won't cry in front of me. What is that going to get you?
Sounds like she's insecure.
I think so. All right, well, great movie, though, I got to tell you. Grease.
Love it.
You know?
Love it.
Saw it at least about 103 or 104 times.
Who's keeping count now?
Yeah. I know I didn't hit 105.
I have it on DVD.
You have DVD?
I have it on DVD.
I have the 8-track.
Whoa.
Yeah.
8-track.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
VHS. No,
VHS, baby. All right, well, you're gonna finish off with the sounds like that great date, man. We might be planning another wedding here soon.
Yeah, another wedding.
Yeah,
Another
never
wedding.
know.
Well, I'll tell you guys, in terms of the date, it went well. And we talked a little bit during the break about chemistry and how chemistry is so important to so many people. But the chemistry that is traditionally thought of is not what we're talking about. The chemistry that we're talking about is where we're having a grown-up adult conversation.
I was going to say, two mature people.
Two mature people.
Yes.
Two mature people, and we're talking about the value of a foundation based in principles.
Yes.
And even though it was newer to her to hear it this way, she was totally responding to it.
She played ball.
She absolutely did, and I felt that if you wanted to call something chemistry, it was we continued to say yes back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. That
Yes.
makes sense.
Very
I agree.
receptive.
I joked about I had to keep going down to the parking meter to put more money in the parking meter because initially I put like an hour and a half in there.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up, about 4 hours, and I went down several times to put more money in the parking meter.
Let me ask you a question. When you speak of this was like a mature experience between two mature adults. Do you think that vulnerability and transparency played a big role in that?
Absolutely. Because I was literally telling her very personal things that most people wouldn't bring up. And she revealed some very personal things about her situation and her past relationship. And actually talked about her ex-husband too.
Yeah.
And there was some good information there. So, and I told her she can ask me any question she wants.
Yeah.
And when we found out that she has this side business as an investigator, I smiled, I made jokes, but I said, ultimately, you can check my background out. To tell me what you find. I'm curious.
Yeah.
What they say about me out there in the world.
Yeah.
In fact, I made a joke with her after the date. The next day or two, I said, I like to give people nicknames. And I said, I'm thinking about calling you Clouseau because the Pink Panther movies are favorite movies of mine, and Inspector Clouseau. He's an inspector.
Exactly.
And she loved it. She goes, I love it. So
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
call her Clouseau.
There you go.
And so there will be a second date.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're doing on the second date?
Well, actually, I should qualify. We scheduled the second date for tonight,
Okay.
but she's not available because there's an issue with her mom. Her mom is ill right now.
Okay.
And she's flying up to Portland, Oregon to go be with her mother.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what a daughter.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
What a daughter.
Well, that's coincidence because the song that we just heard was Rizzo.
Was
Wasn't that her name in the movie?
I
it was
think
Rizzo.
so. I
Yep.
think so, yeah.
You got Rizzo, and
yeah.
then you got Clouseau.
Rizzo and Clouseau.
I mean,
Oh, well, there you go. That's
isn't that
sign.
perfect?
That's one way to connect
Yeah.
things.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. You know what I mean? So,
All
all
right.
right. So are we on to the Baker's finishing up the Baker's dozen here?
Well, we've been chipping away at the Baker's dozen of foundational principles over the last couple of weeks. We've gotten through the first 10. Baker's dozen, as you know, is 13.
Yep.
So we've got 11, 12, and 13 left. The next one up is patience. The principle of patience.
Can't wait to get to that.
I mean, that one is, wow. I can certainly start off by saying that this one is a challenging one for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a natural reservoir of patience. I have to consciously work on being patient, listening, being open to the full message before I have to jump in and tell them how much I know. And so for me, patience is so important as to something I need to work on. But the funny thing about it is I want someone to be patient with me.
Absolutely.
Goes both ways.
I absolutely want someone to be patient with me. And it motivates me now that I understand the value of a principle-centered approach to dating and relationships. If I want it, I've got to give it. And so for me, it's a great tool. It's helpful because I know what I'm looking for and when I'm speaking, I want someone to pay attention. I want them to care about what I have to say. And, sometimes I go on and on and on. They need to be patient sometimes and let me get through the message that I'm trying to spit out because sometimes I can't get to the point. Sometimes.
That's my grandpa too.
It happens. Your grandpa's the same way.
Grandpa's the same way.
So patience these are all golden nuggets. We always talk about that they are. But for me, this one's personal, and it's something that I strive to get better and better at.
Yep.
Guys, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this invaluable principle.
Man, patience is elusive, and I think it's also a major reason or roadblock for people to hit goals and to become successful even in their terms. Because at its core, patience is believing in potential.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep.
You follow me?
I do. I like that. That's good.
In potential of all
That's right.
and everything.
Uh-huh.
Patience is believing in development. That not everything today, this minute,
Yeah.
is where we want it to be.
You're trusting the process.
We're trusting. In fact, I have the note here that the next thing is patience is the belief in process. That protocols and process work because those things are what we call principles. We know that hard work gives us the best chance at attaining a goal or success, right? But we also know that that doesn't happen at the end of the first day.
Nope.
So we have to be patient.
I think
Allow
it
it
goes,
to develop.
Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand with discipline first. That enables the consistency, and you have to be patient enough to sustain that consistency to get to that, to get to that goal or that stage where you're finding success,
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
100%. And here's another one. Patience is believing in effort and results.
Believing in it.
Yeah. Because you have to understand the correlation between effort and results. Right? If I give effort for a year, I can get in great shape. But if I don't have patience,
Oh,
I give up after a week.
Yeah.
stick to it. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Because I cannot attain great health coming from bad habits. I can't attain great health in a week. I need to understand that going into it. It's going to take great effort to get great results, but even greater patience to get there.
It takes a lot of effort to be patient.
You follow me? It's hard work being patient.
Patience to let the process do its magic.
Yeah.
And magic is the right word.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it that way before.
And for some people, trusting anything, but that process is hard in itself.
Absolutely.
Just trusting that alone.
You know, as we sit here and talk about this, we can understand how simple it is to define it. Dan pulled up the definition here. We can define it, but we also, as we speak here, understand the depth, profoundness, and complexity of what patience really is.
Even the definition, if we look the definition, patience is deep because the definition is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. So it's easy. A lot of people say that they're patient.
Yeah.
In reality, the first suffering or trouble that they
Goes against human nature.
Yeah, they come
Exactly.
across.
They-
Gone. They
Yeah.
quit.
They
give
lose
up.
their cool. They lose their patience. They lose it.
Exactly.
They don't have tolerance.
because be patient in good times is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's hard to control those emotions.
Well, we only measure character at the highest point of stress.
When we're challenged.
Correct. We don't measure, character when you win a championship.
When everything's going good.
Right. No.
Anyone can handle
Yeah,
that.
no, we don't. We measure character at the highest point of stress. Right? So, yeah, patience is one of those. Now, in relationships to relationships, in relationship to relationships,
In relation.
right? Yeah, patience. How are you going to do it? We're asking the question, right? It is a foundational virtue. And what do we expect to see in that person? Have we thought in those terms?
Well, I think it's interesting because it being a principle, you can't fake principles,
That's correct.
right? Now, and one of my favorite quotes from 7 Habits, highly effective individuals or people, they speak about, this silent, unconscious, unseen influence of someone's life. So they say this is simply the constant radiation of what man really is and not what he pretends to be.
Right.
So you can pretend to be patient with someone, but that aura that you have,
Yeah.
the realness that you're portraying,
Yeah.
if you're not really being patient with them and you're just pretending to manipulate them in some
Yeah.
way or get something out of them,
Yeah.
they're going to see right through that.
Yeah, it
or at least
comes
the
out.
majority of people will.
Comes out right away.
Yeah.
You can't hide it.
No.
That's a hard one to hide.
You cannot.
You can just see it in a person's
Oh, yeah.
face and body language.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all like, will you please finish, make your point, I gotta go eat a cookie or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And we discussed about how a person treats others.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells it all, right? You're sitting across them at that first dinner, that
At a
first date,
restaurant.
and then they are making critical judgment about people's behaviors. Now, we all judge, and that's okay. But when we speak of others in a way that makes us look superior, or the intention is that you're getting across is that, well, look at how this person is. I'm not that way.
I'm better than them.
I'm better than them. You can, and you know the difference,
Yeah.
right? But you know the difference between
At the expense of others.
of others. So that patience there, there's clues that happen on the first date that we need to be,
Absolutely.
taking note
Absolutely.
of. So the patience becomes a very, very integral virtue for relationships. Now, how does it go wrong? How do we see it go wrong in many relationships, in a practical sense?
I can speak to my last relationship.
Okay.
And I was not patient enough in a number of ways with her. And the trouble, the combination of trouble was my lack of patience and her lack of communicating that she was not okay with my lack of patience. She didn't say anything, and she would not address, you didn't let me finish my point, or you're not giving me a chance to deal with this situation that's challenging. You're just, you're jumping back on me over something that we just talked about. And I didn't wait a long enough time to let the process develop. I mean, that relationship, as you guys know, was very fast. It was over before it even started, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And my lack of patience, combined with her lack of communicating effectively with me and telling me something that was an issue, was combined, and it equaled the demise of our relationship.
Yeah.
Because, these things cannot be ignored. These principles cannot be ignored, number one.
Yeah.
But when things go wrong, you've got to give the opportunity for them to be repaired and get better.
Yeah.
Or at least develop a system to work with challenges. And I didn't do that. So allowing the process to develop.
Exactly.
I like that, and that's for business too.
Yeah, anything.
It's for anything.
It is.
These things are so darn important.
It's
I
incredible
got it,
when you
you know?
start talking about it.
It really blows your mind.
Going back to what you're just saying, I think there is a correlation with someone being impatient with someone and that other person then, almost limiting the communication. Because I think when someone's impatient with you, you almost feel you feel a little insecure, you feel maybe not as bright as you should be, or you're not able to handle certain things, and so people are impatient with you. And in turn, I think you don't want to put yourself on the spot again. And so I think that in turn leads to a lack of communication and a lack of, putting themselves out there because they don't want that person to jump on them again and being impatient with them.
I get that. I get that. I might be turning down the communication volume instead of turning it up with being patient and being gentle and being kind and being compassionate and empathetic, and go down the list, guys. Good point, Austin.
I think we've all been there, because I've been there. If my parents are being impatient with me because I don't know how to do something, I will tend to not put myself out there more.
You kind of retreat.
You retreat, you retract.
Yeah, that's what happened in my relationship.
Yeah.
She retreated.
Yeah.
Well,
Very good revelation.
well,
Learning on the dating doctor.
is patience love?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about this.
The verb, love.
Patience is love. Another question for you. Is patience vision?
Yes.
See the picture. See the big picture.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Because we have to think about where we're going to go. I've been wanting a beachfront home since I was in college. And here I may be now, down the line here, I may have a shot at it.
Closer than you were
You know?
today.
Right.
Versus in college.
But that's patience.
You had this picture in mind
lot
for a
of
very
patience.
long
There's been a
time.
lot of trekking.
That's
Yeah.
20 plus years of patience.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And that's
Interesting.
incredible. Yeah, patience is also the discipline to achieve success in relationships and material.
Material gains.
Yes.
Yeah. We want everything now. You hear that in
But
this
there's no
society.
such thing, right?
It doesn't work that way.
Right? There's no such thing. So, wow, that was deep. Thank you for the patience and clarifying that for our audience and for even ourselves here. We
For
learned.
ourselves,
Yeah.
for me, for sure.
So go ahead and take us into our second break, and then when we come back on our third session, we'll finish up the two final Baker dozen
attempt to.
virtues. Yeah. We'll
Anyway,
attempt to.
guys, again, you're listening to The Dating Doctor on KCAA 1050 AM and 102.3 and 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire. And today the show is also brought to you by Elevate Health Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy. This is the latest innovation in the pursuit of optimal health, and we will be telling you more about this.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you on the other side. If I can't have you, I don't want nobody, baby. If I can't have you, if I can't, come on now.
I don't want nobody, baby.
You know how we say it. No. See, it doesn't work. I'm looking at the video. I like the video. I like Travolta. But this is BS. Because he's never seen her. This is the first night he's ever seen her. And they made a song about If I Can't Have You. You don't even know the girl.
It's a little extreme.
You don't know the girl. You don't know what's underneath the iceberg.
The last time I had love at first sight, ended in tragedy.
Okay.
Tragedy.
Okay.
So,
How do we say it?
don't do
Okay.
it.
Come on now. This is a very simple thing.
I tell you, we have some wisdom here. Let me
And
tell
we
you.
segue right into the PA, go right into the last two of the 13.
We've got two more terrific principles as part of our Baker's Dozen, guys. And number 12 is personal development. Now, this can be defined multiple ways. I think that I like one of the definitions here I've written down. It says, plan to make relevant, positive, and effective life choices and decisions. That is the result of the efforts that you are going to experience from pursuing personal development. We here in our world, we read books. Crazy concept, I know. Read a book, learn something. I know. The statistics, when you look at what someone reads after high school or what someone reads after college, it's a sad state of affairs. The reality is most people do not pick up a book again, or very few pick up a book again. And so we are huge proponents and fans of personal development. I know that many of the folks I work with on a daily basis, every day, are spending time with personal development, listening to audio, watching presentations, reading books, making notes on great lectures or experiences that they've had as it relates to working diligently on personal development. And just so you guys know, it doesn't come from the air. It comes from an active process. You have to decide that you want to develop personally. And there are many, many ways to do it. And today, with all the information we have available to us, it's very easy. So personal development, guys, we could spend a whole show just talking about personal development. and how we've experienced it, how it's impacted our lives, and how we witness others benefit, or the converse of that, how we watch people stay stagnant and not grow because they do not pursue a healthy dose of personal development, right?
So your premise is that it does not come from hyperbaric chambers.
Well, Voss, that's a subject we know and
But it
love.
doesn't come from air,
As
right?
far as I know, it does not come from the air in a
Okay.
hyperbaric chamber.
Right.
But that chamber might help the focus.
It might help with focus. It might help with health, but you may be a dummy and live a long life.
You
basically.
need to read a book inside the chamber.
There
That's
you go.
what I think it is.
That's what we.
Read
That's
a
why we
book.
need the sit-up one.
We do.
We
We
need
do.
the sit-up one.
Get the
Well,
sit-up.
you had some input there, Dan.
I would say that involves patience.
Sure.
Here we go again.
Back to it.
Personal
It's all
development,
interconnected.
you can do without patience.
You cannot do it without patience.
Cannot.
That's why it's easier to just live by the seat of the pants,
Fly by the seat of your pants.
right? YOLO.
YOLO. You only live once.
Right now, that kind of philosophy. If somebody throws that philosophy out at you on a first date,
She's paying for the drink.
Dutch. Yeah, better than Dutch. Better than Dutch. You pay.
We've heard it in the meeting before.
They pay. Right.
Yeah, they're paying.
Better than Dutch. So no, absolutely personal development. What do you think, Austin? Personal development.
To be completely honest, I only read one book last year. So, right before coming on board here, and the first thing was reading books.
Yeah.
Now, I was a little bit bigger on YouTube videos, so I've seen, videos of Les Brown. I've seen some other
Great
people, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. So it's all good stuff, but I think there's something about picking up a book
Yeah.
and being able to, highlight things, just like, the quote that I read earlier from 7 Habits. Certain things stick out to certain individuals. And I think without the personal development, I mean, there's really no reason for you to think that you're going to, achieve any higher levels if you stay the same.
Wow. And do you think that's an elusive philosophy?
I think anyone can do it.
Right. But the question is, do you think that everybody knows that personal development
No.
is imperative to significant quantum improvement?
No, my parents have
And
never talked
results.
about it.
Yeah. It's something else, isn't it? Yeah. Dan?
I think the majority of people thinks either that this is not important or you learn this living your life.
Life's experience.
Exactly.
That's what
And
they say.
Life's
what they
experience
think.
That's
doesn't
what most
teach
say.
you
And I think
good
some,
things.
yeah,
I know a lot of, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but there's a lot of homeless that are senior in age.
Yeah.
So the argument that you learn it
it's experience.
with life, it doesn't cut it, because I know a 70-year-old, guy by the name of Jack Welch, America's CEO, very successful, writes books, reads books, and he is on the other side of what a homeless person has experienced in life.
Right.
And then you got another guy that is, we're all in the same world. And we all have opportunity. And I think the correlation between what you do with what's available, the resources, and where you end up are a direct, indirect relationship to where you end up.
Direct. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, the majority, stem from a ego-centered, point of view. So I think a lot of people either want to believe or just assume that what they are and their philosophy, what they know, is enough to get the job done. Because it takes effort to learn more.
That's
it takes
genius
effort
observation.
to do more and educate yourself. It takes effort. It takes patience. It takes all these principles.
Well-
So people want to assume that they are enough.
Well, our next.
That is genius.
We have another principle coming up, and what you're speaking to is exactly that next principle. And I don't know if we're even ready to go to it, but you're speaking about somebody who's humble,
Yeah.
who has humility,
Yeah.
who knows they don't know,
Right.
and knows they need a mentor. They need to read a book,
Yeah.
take a
Yeah.
course,
You gotta be
listen to
self-aware.
audio, watch
Yeah.
a video. Unless we want to speak a little bit more on this principle.
Well, I'll just mention on
Because it's
personal
big.
development. Yeah, it's big. Personal development. I mean, you know, the people understand on the surface various things. If you tell someone that, hey, you need to work on your character to have great relationships, that
Broad.
sentence in the English, language sounds to most as if they have enough knowledge to get that task done. When you just say something like, "Hey, work on your character, have better relationships," they
how
think
do you
they
do
have
it?
enough, right? They think they have enough within themselves to get that done. So what I say is this: personal development. How do we get it right? How do we do it right? Audio, reading, and mentors. Am I missing anything?
Well, the videos combined with the audio.
Yeah, audio
We
and
have
video.
the YouTube resource.
Yeah,
which has
audio and video.
I mean, Austin mentioned
Yeah.
Les Brown, Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
There's tons of information just sitting there free.
Right.
Yep.
You can watch on your phone, listen on your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the amount of information we have is staggering.
Now we're talking
Staggering.
about here. You're choosing a life's mate, right?
That's the subject.
Right. So if we're looking for a CFO at our company, we want to know that the person has virtues, not just skill set for business,
Not just skill set.
but that they also have virtues that can work with the culture that we are working very hard at,
Absolutely.
infusing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, personal development is audio, videos, reading, and mentors.
Mentorship.
And if you're talking to someone that you're looking at considering, let's make sure that this person is considering doing these things to develop themselves into something.
Absolutely.
You know?
What I like that the both of you guys say when we're at work is that we want you working on yourself harder than you are working at your job.
Yes.
Because that in turn transcends to your job and your work.
Absolutely will.
And that's what
natural-
personal
what we're talking
development is
about.
all
Natural
about.
progression. So we're sliding right into our last
Yeah,
principle,
let's
guys,
go for
which
it.
is humility. And I do want to remind you guys that we've been listening to the Dating Doctor on KCA 1050 AM and 102.3 and 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire. And again, today the show is brought to you by meetingsinglesnow.com, where we're going to bring you the best events to meet quality singles.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. So our final principle is humility, and Austin already alluded to it. You've got to be aware that you need to work on these things, and that requires us to be humble.
Yes.
We recognize we don't know everything.
No, we don't.
We don't know everything. And I'll tell you a great sign that I had with this last date, just to make the point. I told her about Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful or Highly Effective People. She bought the book.
Perfect.
And the first date, she brought it with her. She goes, I bought that book. I said, no, now you got to read the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I said, my last girl bought the book and she never read it.
Right. And
She goes, I
hence
will read
the
it.
last girl, my last girl.
The last girl. So it's as simple as that. Go buy a book and read it.
Yeah.
But you got to be humble enough to know.
I
You got to
agree.
be humble enough to know.
Humility is a godlike quality. I say it all the time. Because you want to know that the person that you're with believes that they are on a quest for lifelong learning and lifelong growth,
Yep.
lifelong improvement, not only for themselves, but the relationships that they're in. And that includes humanity, the relationship they have with humanity,
The world.
with the world.
Yep.
So please make sure that the person you talk to is not a snob, does not believe they don't need anything, does not believe they don't need to learn, is not conformed in what they are, and that they don't need to be better, because they absolutely should want to improve on everything that is, before them and in the future for them.
Absolutely.
So,
Lifelong learner.
lifelong learner. So we are at the end, man. We wish we had a little more time to talk to you guys about humility, man, because it's big. But I'm sure we'll talk about it on
Pick
the
up on
next
it.
next week. That was season 2,
Season 2, right?
episode 8. So we're done with season 2. We're gonna go into season 3.